You enter a store for one simple item, yet the selection forces a long mental sorting process. The moment feels small, but the pressure grows as each option demands justification. Choice requires comparing features, imagining outcomes, and rejecting alternatives, which consumes attention and emotional energy. When the menu of options expands, the work of choosing expands too, and confidence often diminishes. More options raise expectations, so a decent choice can feel merely acceptable instead of satisfying. More options also increase personal responsibility, so disappointment can feel like a mistake you caused. After the purchase, your mind keeps replaying the paths you did not take and what they promised. That replay creates anxiety and second-guessing, even when the choice was trivial and harmless. In the next minutes, you will learn why more options can backfire and how to choose with less regret. This video is inspired by The Paradox of Choice by Barry Schwartz, and you can subscribe for guidance that makes everyday decisions feel lighter. Choice overload occurs when the number of options surpasses what attention and memory can handle calmly. Each additional option adds comparisons, trade-offs, and reasons to hesitate, which can lead to decision delays or avoidance. When faced with too many options, people often delay decisions or avoid them entirely, finding the effort too high. While avoidance may seem sensible in the moment, it often replaces action with endless browsing. In a study, shoppers who saw 6 jam varieties purchased a jar about 30% of the time. When shoppers saw 24 varieties, the display drew interest, but only about 3% purchased, showing less follow-through. The larger spread created more attraction, but less follow-through, demonstrating how it can be demotivating. Even after choosing, unchosen options remain mentally active, potentially reducing enjoyment of the selected item. This pattern explains why routine decisions feel heavier today, even when the stakes are low and familiar. A practical solution is to set a small shortlist before choosing, so evaluation happens once instead of repeatedly. One pattern is to seek the best option, which keeps the search open and raises pressure with every added possibility. The mechanism is that high standards demand more comparison, more information, and more checking for hidden better choices. When only the best feels acceptable, each new option becomes a reason to doubt what you already considered. Adopting a good enough approach ends the search earlier, which protects energy and reduces mental churn afterward. Imagine a shopper returning to the same shelf again, because another brand might solve a tiny concern better. The search expands, even though the decision is small, and the person feels less sure with each pass. This mindset matters because modern environments keep adding options, which keeps the search alive indefinitely. Setting a good enough standard restores control by deciding what matters most before evaluating a large set. Choose 2 or 3 criteria that truly matter, then stop once an option meets them clearly. Relief often appears when comparison ends because attention returns to living instead of evaluating. Regret grows when you keep imagining that another option would have produced a better result. The mechanism is that more options create more vivid alternatives, so the mind keeps comparing reality to fantasies. Even a solid outcome can feel disappointing once it is measured against the best imaginable alternative. This effect strengthens when decisions require effort, because you expect the payoff to match the work. Consider tasting several appealing options, then realizing you must commit to one while rejecting the rest. After choosing, the rejected options remain attractive, which can reduce pleasure in what you selected. Missed opportunities become sharper when choices are abundant, because there are more appealing doors left closed. This is why more choice can produce dissatisfaction, even when the final outcome is objectively fine. Reducing regret often starts by limiting the considered set and accepting that every choice closes doors. If regret keeps returning after decisions, you can subscribe to methods that reduce replay and restore satisfaction after choosing. Adaptation means that improvements become normal quickly, so satisfaction fades and the next choice requires a higher standard. The mechanism is raised expectations, where yesterday's upgrade becomes today's baseline, failing to deliver lasting contentment. Comparison intensifies this cycle, as what others have sets a new standard for what feels acceptable. When standards rise through comparison, disappointment can feel personal, as a better option seems within reach. Imagine watching entertainment with endless options, then feeling let down when the pick is merely decent. The availability of alternatives makes the decent choice feel weaker, as better outcomes seem just nearby. This is why more freedom can coexist with more dissatisfaction. As expectations keep rising faster than enjoyment, over time, the emotional cost appears as stress, dissatisfaction, and a sense that choices should have delivered more. One approach is to lower expectations for routine decisions, reserving intensive research for those that truly matter. Another approach is to reduce comparison triggers, allowing experiences to be judged on their own terms. Relief often comes from deliberately limiting choices rather than expanding your search and collecting more information. The mechanism is voluntary constraints, which reduce comparisons and protect your attention from endless evaluation. Setting a good enough standard helps because it ends the search sooner and reduces post-decision second-guessing. Lowering your expectations also helps, as it reduces the gap between what you hoped for and what you received. Making decisions non-reversible can strengthen commitment, as it stops you from treating every choice as provisional. When every choice remains reversible, the mind keeps monitoring alternatives and struggles to settle into enjoyment. Paying less attention to what others choose also reduces comparison, so satisfaction depends less on external yardsticks. These strategies work together by reducing opportunities for regret and limiting the space for imagined better outcomes. Choose one domain this week where you can simplify with a rule, then apply it consistently for stability. Record what improved after applying the rule, so your mind learns that fewer choices can support better living. The core paradox is that expanding choice can reduce well-being by increasing effort, regret, and unrealistic standards. Too many options can turn simple decisions into time-consuming projects filled with doubt and second-guessing. You witnessed how overload can reduce action, how unchosen options can reduce enjoyment, and how regret grows from missed alternatives. You also saw how adaptation and comparison raise expectations, making satisfaction harder to sustain after a decision. With clearer standards, fewer options, and stronger commitment, decisions can feel lighter and outcomes can feel better. These changes compound because they free attention for relationships, health, and meaningful work instead of constant evaluation. Start by identifying 2 recurring decisions and create simple defaults that you will not revisit. Then choose one important decision each month to handle carefully, and stop searching once it meets your criteria. The goal is not perfect outcomes, but a calmer decision process that leaves room to enjoy what you pick. If calmer decisions sound worth building over time, you can subscribe for more guidance that turns these principles into daily habits.